Neurocognitive disorders. I fixed it on this PowerPoint, but if I ever wrote anywhere, disorders of aging and said it was these, that would have been incorrect, because just because you're aging doesn't necessarily mean any of this is going to happen to you. You could be younger and this happened to you, or you could age and it not happen to you. So, as we'll see in a minute, it makes it more likely, but don't just assume that neurocognitive equals aging disorders. But stereotypically, we do think of it as issues related to as you age, but it doesn't always mean that. So, if we were having talking points and we were going to sit down and discuss it, one thing I would definitely want to have you think about is, would you want to know if you were going to begin to experience some sort of neurocognitive situations, neurocognitive symptoms, as you aged, or tomorrow, or the next day, or 10 years from now? Would you want to know if that was going to be the case for you? Would there be something you'd want to do about it? If you were going to have Alzheimer's, would you want to know and get in a trial now? Or would you just rather it happen and you deal with it as it happens? Alright, so neurocognitive disorders, marked decrease in cognitive functioning from what you were functioning prior. So your cognitive functioning has taken a big dip. And dementia is still used and probably will always still be used, but in DSM-5 and in newer discussions, neurocognitive issues, neurocognitive disorders are more appropriate than just saying dementia. Sort of like the word senile went out, but dementia is kind of on its way out, but may not ever go out. But do remember, as I said, the risk for a neurocognitive disorder increases as you age, but that in no way means that age causes it. Just because you age, you may not have it. But it involves impaired functions such as thinking, issues with reasoning, issues with memory, making it more difficult for all of those to happen. Causes could be physical, damage, medical, drug-related, not all psychological reasons. And the brain is the location of impairment. Alright, table 14.1 in your chapter on page 527 talks about delirium and then neurocognitive disorder with a major decline or a minor decline. So delirium, page 526 is where it mentions the variety of causes. Unlike a neurocognitive disorder, it does not usually continue to become worse. Think of it as more time limited. If you huffed something last night, you might have delirium for a period of time until the substance wears off. It could last for weeks, days, hours, but it's not something that they think of as being permanent, and that's why it's not called a neurocognitive disorder. It gets its own category of delirium. Page 528, table of features. So, there's various domains, like in the cognition and perception, there's confusion and racing thoughts. Could be disorientation and delusions by moderate severity, and so forth. You can look through that table. The neurocognitive disorder, though, major or mild, actually minor is what it should say, major or minor, just refers to the amount of decline. A neurocognitive disorder, major means that there's been quite a bit of decline, and minor means that there's been mild decline, which may be the beginning of major decline or just be minor forever. There's no necessary way to exactly know right then. Examples, this didn't necessarily happen to me this week, but long ago when I wrote this, that week, I had given out the mild or minor. I keep writing the word mild, but I mean, I guess it is mild. I thought it was minor. Anyway, mild or minor, if you see that. I'll have to look through the DSM-5 and see how they call it. But your book does say mild. Anyway, I gave the diagnosis out twice. One man, I mean, he had several other things, but he had started passing up his driveway, continuing on, and then eventually realizing that something was not right. He had missed something. And then he had started finding himself in stores, not knowing why. That is potentially the beginning of more, but at least as of right then, and that was happening in a variety of settings and had been for a while, that was a mild or minor neurocognitive disorder. And then there was another man that I had talked to at one point. He had started going places to get things and then leaving them there and then being unable to remember other people's names. So he was probably on his way to a major neurocognitive disorder, but at the point it seemed that, it wasn't to that level. And these examples were concerning them. These weren't things that they were just like, oh, that's so silly of me, blah, blah, blah. With neurocognitive disorders, whether they are major or then mild/minor, they are subtypes. You may not always know what has caused it, but from page 530 through 543, there are a variety of subtypes. So a neurocognitive disorder due to would be the way it would be discussed. Each subtype, whether it's Alzheimer's, TBI's, traumatic brain injury, they can damage the brain in different ways. So a mild or minor neurocognitive disorder due to HIV infection, or a major neurocognitive disorder due to Alzheimer's disease, whatever it's due to. If it's multiple etiologies, which would just be multiple things that led to you having the neurocognitive disorder, and it could be unspecified, there would be particulars for that. It would be a way to phrase it where you didn't have to specify exactly. But you'll see in your book, prion disease, Huntington's disease, Parkinson's, Lewy bodies, you may not have run across all of those. And you may never know, in a private practice, the odds of you running across one of those and being able to say, oh, this is neurocognitive because of your Lewy bodies, that is rarely likely to happen. You would send them for further, medical evaluations to determine the specific cause. And then do remember that any disorder that has impacted you throughout your life, it can continue through later stages and or change, get better, get worse. Lifestyle adapts it once you age. So these are the other disorders related to aging. They are things that can be impacted further by your aging.